What's going on, man? Another
Matty P.
episode. Tell us about this guest. Who do we have on this week?
Leah Russell Gonzalez, man. She is not from here.
Where's she from?
She's like from another world.
Oh, Canada?
She is from another world. Right across the other side of the border, man. And I'm not talking about Matamoros.
So
I'm talking about
She goes from
Canada.
one border
Yeah.
and she goes to school where? At UTB or UTRGB?
She went to school at UTB, but of course, now it's UTRGB, and she's going to tell us about some really cool stories, man, and her upbringing, and all the awesome things that she's been through in her life. It's including probably shoveling something, but I don't know what it could be.
Well, the only person I'm used to shoveling something is you, because it gets
That's right
on you sometimes. But I can't wait for this episode.
1, 2, 1, 2. All right, let's roll.
Welcome. You're listening to the Saddle Up Podcast,
where we discuss everything related to UTRGV athletics, past or present. We'll catch up with old teammates, friends, and take you down memory lane
with exclusive interviews.
This is the Saddle Up Podcast, the voice of your covered walkway streets.
So dope.
This is gonna be awesome.
Stay tuned for new episodes every week.
From Brownsville to the Fieldhouse, we'll cover it all.
Hell yeah, dude. Carpe diem.
So saddle up and let's go.
Let's go. Saddle up, partner.
She goes by many names. Wonder Woman, Superwoman, the GOAT at the gym. I mean, there's just so many things that she's called. I think they're pretty positive. I've never heard a negative thing. But her maiden name is Leah Russell, and her married name is Leah Gonzalez. Nonetheless, we have her on the show. UTB product.
Yep.
Former soccer player.
Soccer star. What are you talking about?
Soccer. Okay, my bad. Soccer stardom. Okay, it's Leah Russell, Leah Gonzalez. Nice to have you on the show, Leah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Leah, welcome
to
the show.
Interesting enough, but
when Gene told me that he was like, "Hey, the great success we had, or Juan Gamboa's episode, who played for UTB, the Scorpions back in the day, the fanfare was great with that episode. So when he was like, "Hey, let's bring Leah on," she was like the female version of Juan Gamboa as far as popularity and so I was like, yeah, let's do it. So welcome to the show, Leah. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh.
Well, Leah, we'll get to what you're doing now, because you're making quite an impact in the community. We'll get to that a little bit later. We kind of
throwing her weight around.
Yeah, literally. Absolutely.
Throwing weight around. Yeah.
Throwing her weight around in the community. We want to know, where are you from? We want the listeners to know where you're from. We know you played soccer there at UTB. How was it growing up? You're from another country, I believe.
Yeah, I'm actually from Canada, born and raised.
You're from Canada, eh?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yes.
I told you Matt would go there, Leah. I warned you.
No, it's okay. But yeah, born and raised. Lived there my whole life. My family's actually immigrants. So they came over. My siblings are not from Canada. I was the firstborn, and then my younger brother, and I'm one of 5. But I've lived there, born and raised my whole life. Actually up until I came to school in 2009. So my whole life. Yeah, family still lives there. Everyone's still there. So it's just me.
Once your episode airs, then you're gonna share it, right? And so, we've always been talking about syndication, but
we're gonna be worldwide.
International. We're gonna be international. We're gonna have international listeners.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
God is good. God is good.
Leah's episode becomes extra important now. Like, we can't mess this up.
Oh no. Perfect. Yes.
No pressure.
None at all.
So Leah, talk to us about those days leading up to UTB. You did make it over, and we're interested to hear about how you made it over from Canada over to Brownsville. But what were those years like in high school? Just briefly, touch on you know, what athletics meant to you and what it was like, you know, leading up to your recruitment.
Okay. So I was, of course, as you can tell in the gym, I've been like that tomboy sport person like my whole entire life. I've always played soccer, always.
Yeah.
My dad played, my brother actually played for Canada. So it's been in the family for a while.
Wow.
He played overseas for a while, so I've just always grown up playing soccer. Like that was just my thing. In high school, I played volleyball and basketball. So I was actually
Basketball.
yes.
Right.
Well, it's funny because I played club's like a huge thing. I know it's a little bit different here in the States compared to back in Canada, where everybody really compares everything to high school here. Like everything is high school, high school, high school, where with us high school meant nothing, like in accolades and how you grow up through sports. It was your club teams. So
yeah,
I played club, we've won state all these times, and you know, I started to get noticed a lot. And the club that I was playing for, they did this, it was called ADP Tour of America. So they collect two teams, a male and a female team, and they take you on a bus ride for 2 weeks down to Florida and then all the way back up. And in that time, you go and you get to play, I think maybe out of like 25 to 30 schools we would stop en route and like visit, we would play 10 games out of the 30 schools we would see. So I've played against, and you're only 18, 17 at the time. I played D1 schools, D4, D2, you'd play just, you know, private schools, all type of different schools.
Yeah.
It's basically a recruiting trip. So
wow. Okay.
get home and, you know, our coaches at the time had, you know, whatever resumes for us and things that they could give them. And they would reach out and say, hey, I want, you know, information for number 8, number 10. And it just kind of assumed itself that way. So I came back, and at the time that I had gone on the trip, I was actually asked to go. I mean, you have to pay for it, of course, but I told them, you know, like financially, you know, small family stuff. It wasn't my, I just didn't think that I was going to go to school. I hated school. I'm actually the only person that has gone to university and college in my family. So at the time, I was like, it's not a thing. Like, you know, we're not going to be able to afford it. My parents won't be able to put me through. So I just didn't care for it. So when I came back, I had all these emails from coaches, and I was like,
yeah.
So does that mean you were pretty good, Leah?
I was okay, but I was like, you know,
you didn't expect it as much. Yeah.
And you get into, obviously there's grounds of privacy and contact with NAIA and CAA and stuff. So I didn't know, like, what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
At that time, I never took the SATs. So I was already nearing the end of school, and I'm like, what the hell do I do? Like, it started to spark interest, but I hadn't taken any tests to go. So funny enough, my basketball coach in school was like, you have 2 routes. You can either go play basketball or you can go play soccer. Either way, you're going to be successful which either one you do, but I really think you need to go play soccer. So I told him and explained, you know, money. I didn't know how to do anything. It was, my family didn't have any knowledge of it. So he reached out to people, and he actually contacted and found NAIA instead of NCAA because I was already short term to take the SATs.
Yep.
So
That's how NAIA gets some good athletes.
Yeah.
I was like,
was your middle name like Loophole, Leah Loophole? Like,
you could say that. I have some funny, you know.
There you go. That's what I'm gonna put on your description, right? Leah Loophole.
I get the horseshoe. I'm the horseshoe of the family, but
we're lucky
Leah
because you're on
Lucky.
the show. So
So I mean, long story short, he found a bunch of NAIA schools, and I had some from the recruiting trip, but this one came up, and I was like, okay, well, I reached out to the coach. At the time, he had asked me, like, do you want to come down for a recruiting trip? And I didn't know anything. I didn't even know where the school was. I was like, all right, I mean, why not, right?
You go from one border to the other, like, you
know. And it's funny because I had like narrowed it down to, I think, like 3 to 4 schools that I was like in between picking. I went for a recruiting trip here. I was on the final like decision with Central Michigan, the Chippewas, and I had Citadel wanted me to go play as well in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then Carson Newman in Alabama or Tennessee. One of those out there. But it was in between those 4, and it was just like burrowing in my head, like, which one do I pick? And I ended up here in Brownsville. Yeah.
Wow.
So, let me ask you, this is the question that's been burning in my, like, You go from what part of Canada?
I live just outside of Toronto, so
Okay.
north of Buffalo border.
So it was cold.
Yes.
You go from cold weather. What did you think about the first time that you spent like a couple of days in Brownsville? Like, what was the winters in Brownsville? How did they differentiate between the winters back home?
Well, on the recruiting trip, because obviously you can't go in season, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense. So it was tail end, which was like November, December. So it wasn't as hot. But when we got the call, like, hey, you're going to come down for preseason, he wrote in the email, I suggest coming down a few days prior to climatize. And I was like,
Climatize. Yeah.
I died. In the winter over there is like disgusting, freezing. Like,
Brutal, right?
bad. So to get that little switch and people here say, oh, it's cold. I'm like, this ain't shit.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Shit, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's a big drastic change. I mean, the winter there compared to here is nothing, and even the summer. I personally enjoy the heat. Like, I could melt every single day and it wouldn't bother me. But it's a huge difference. Even just
You've totally acclimated to valley girl life. Like, my wife is the same way. She grew up in North Texas. It was a really frigid cold up there.
Those
And now
Oklahoma winds coming, you
you
get tornadoes up in Dallas,
Now, she can't see herself living there anymore because she's like, I'm just valley girl. Like, I get valley girl cold now. So, you did this to me. Yeah, acclimate. Yeah, for sure.
You've been used to it. I've gone back, and I mean, I always tell people it's not so much the snow. Like, I don't mind it. It's when it's windy over there, and it's just that rigid.
That windshield. Yeah.
I don't like it.
This is a good show to send to Brownsville Tourism, the Brownsville Tourism Center. Maybe we can get a
shout out to
a donation
the city of
or a
Brownsville.
sponsorship.
Yeah, we're looking for a sponsor, city of Brownsville. So
that's right.
Come and visit Brownsville.
Come and visit Brownsville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or even South Padre Island. Shout out to South Padre Island Tourism Board. So
for sure.
They've done well. I was there this weekend, and there's a lot of Canadians and people from Minnesota.
There are.
You wouldn't say that, eh?
Yeah, they are. Well, I follow that South Padre Island concierge page on Facebook, and they're always posting where can we go watch the Minnesota Vikings play football? What bar is showing whatever, Minnesota, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm like, man.
It was all Minnesota plates and then Canada plates when I was there this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's all Winter Texans. It's all
That's right.
Texans,
Land.
So growing up the number one sport in Canada, I believe, is hockey, correct? So what drew you to like, I just don't, when do they play soccer? Is it indoor? Is it like during the summers? Because can't play during the winter. Like when is the soccer season in Canada?
All our sports where I was from are all year round. So whether you play any type of track sport, obviously hockey you can play year round. Soccer for us, because they build like an outside dome, so you play indoors but throughout the winter. So we would start usually like outdoor. We would start training probably about like end of April. Like as soon as it melts, it clears up, like 2 or 3 weeks of like wet, and then you're outside on the field.
And you're outside.
Open. And we practice leading up until probably about mid-December. I don't know if you saw the it was what playoff game with the NFL. They were shoveling the
the Bills.
Buffalo. It was the Buffalo game. Yeah.
It was Buffalo.
We had to do that for practice.
Oh wow.
So
instead of running lines, y'all would
shovel snow.
There was a couple fields that we played on that were turf, so you can play on them year round, right? But our coaches would send us to practice. Mid-December, we practiced outside, and our coach would say, if you're not wearing gloves, a hat, all that stuff, then you get sent home. But everyone was wrapped up and playing soccer outside in the snow.
Here that takes me to I know I'm jumping a little bit, but Leah is runs the Hard Knocks here in Brownsville and Edinburgh, and I know that there's a lot of people that complain about whether it's how cold it is or how hot it is, Matt. Like almost every class, it's there's a
Yeah.
complaint from somebody. I never complain. I'm not that guy.
Of course you don't.
But
G. Yeah,
course
I
no,
never
man,
hear
I
you
don't do
complain
that.
at all.
Of course
I've
not.
never complained in my life.
Yeah.
I just bring up suggestions, but it's not really complaining. But, Leah can literally look at them and say, stop complaining. I used to shovel snow before my soccer practices, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Now, let
I've
me
never
ask
heard you say that, Leah.
let me-
Well, I mean, I don't like it. I mean, to me, I'm like traumatized. So every time it's cold, I'm like, oh, close the door.
Yeah, but one
You
of those
put me out,
stories where
I
you
have
put me in
a
the wild, I'll deal with it. But
I have a
I used to
question.
shovel snow back in the
When
day.
you were when you were in elementary school and like grade school, right? Did you have to walk to school in the
There you go.
snow so you can
Yeah.
tell your kids like, hey, I used to walk
Yeah.
to school in the snow uphill both ways, like,
And shovel
and
the
shovel
path.
snow. Yeah.
so I'm one of 5. My
Uh-huh.
parents are like true British, like don't care, like you're good. Like whatever happens in life, like you're fine. We're not gonna like bail you out of everything. So I remember my high school was probably about 1.5 to 2 mile walk. It'd probably take about like 30 minutes to get there, right? And there would be times where it would snow, and when we are prepping for snowstorms or snowfalls, the plows are out already, but they do the roads first and then they do the sidewalks after. You're not going to walk on the road. I mean, there's cars that could slide. And so my parents, I'd ask my mom, on your way to work, can you drive me? She's like, oh, no. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, walk. Everyone else did. All the other ones walked. I'm like, Mom. She's like, no, you're going to walk to school. Like, this is like learning curve. Like, you're walking. I'm not going to.
Amazing. We gotta have
Wait.
Mama Russell on. Like that's
But you ask my little brother, she drove him every single day.
because he's the baby.
Yeah. I was like, that's not fair. She goes, well, I need to make sure he goes to school. I'm like,
Well, we don't want to offend any of our newly formed international audience, right? So that sucks for you, Leah. But shout out to your brother who got a ride. So
yeah, all of us walked, but my little one got the special treatment for sure. So yeah.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, there's always one in every family, and there's there's always one in every gym also. There's always one in every class.
I have this question.
Yeah.
You were a transplant. Now you live in Brownsville, right? You run Hard Knocks. Yeah, I'm assuming you go back. You said you've got family still there and you go back whenever, but what is the one thing? It's a double question. What is the one thing that you miss most about Canada and home? I'm asking the other question.
Good question, Matt.
Brownsville, I think the one thing that it's hard here, and when I not realize that I made the choice that I did to come here, the outdoors perspective, like I love the beach, I love to go there, but there's something with the nature in Canada that is like you can't get that anywhere.
Okay.
Going out and walking trails, the water, like the sights and stuff. And I know people, I guess,
the
kind
scenery,
of
the
food or anything.
nature, right?
Yeah.
You just don't like being in the desert all day. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's so flat here and there's nothing like.
Yeah.
But
now so flip that question. If you were no longer living in Brownsville, what would be the one thing, whether it be, scenery, food, people, whatever it is, what would be the one thing that you would miss most about living in Brownsville? No,
me in class. Me and her in at Hard Knocks. Well, anyway, go ahead, Leah.
Quote Leah a while ago.
Yeah. Honestly, the heat.
You would miss the
heat. You like the heat.
You like
the heat, yeah.
Like I would take it with me anywhere.
I love the
heat. I mean, of course, the beach kind of plays in tie with it, but not so much the food and nothing like that. I think it's the weather for me. I would pull the heat with me wherever I went.
Well, speaking of the heat, Leah used to bring the heat on the soccer field. And how was it? How were those days at UTB? Can you kind of reflect a little bit, kind of like your favorite memory or best memories of playing soccer at UTB?
Yeah. So I started in 2009. I had my like complete ups and downs the whole time.
Yeah.
UTB was, I guess, kind of successful. We had won the conference a couple times. I don't want to say basic things. There's times where we swept through the league, other times we struggled. It wasn't until my last like final year, which was actually the closeout year for Scorpions, right?
That's right. That's right.
It was the final year. I was captain for the year prior to, leading into the last one was captain, and I think it was just like the final push to have the team like blended completely, like everything just worked. We won conference, we won the first stage of nationals, we went to nationals in Alabama, we got through the first round, we ended up losing in the second round, and then my last year we finished 9th in the nation. So it was just like a back-to-back, like, and it was an experience. The soccer team had never had that experience at UTB. So
That's right. That's right.
Y'all ended up on a high.
Yeah. With everything kind of breaking at that point, you know, people now are trying to transfer out because UTB is no longer together. I was finishing, I was already my senior. We won our last home game there at UTB to close out the conference. We won. I remember like specifically like the most fun memory that I had was that we had gone to Alabama. My parents drove down to go meet us there. A couple parents drove just to meet us there to have some sort of support, right? Our first round, we played a team that we lost to in preseason. And it was just a terrible game. Like I didn't play that game. I was actually hurt at the beginning of the season. We played them first round and we beat them. So everyone's like, oh, badass. The second game that we went to, my dad had told me it was actually his birthday that day. So he's like, look, the only thing that I asked from you today is for my birthday is to win and then to score. And I was like, oh shit, okay.
No pressure, right?
Thanks, buddy.
I'd be like, Dad, I've been walking in the snow with no rides. This ain't nothing.
No pressure here. So yeah, we were playing. We were tied 1-1. A couple minutes left in the game. Ball comes out to me and I go for it. When I scored, it went through the goalie's leg and everybody lost it. My dad was like sobbing. We had never had that experience, you know? So it was like, well, one thing my dad was like, that was all I asked for was just those two things, score and then win for my birthday. So we ended up winning. Awesome. Went into the next day, which was just before, I think it was the final 8. But we ended up using that one to one of the teams that went on to win or be in the finals.
But you had success at UTB, obviously, and it was, you know, it was well deserved.
Yeah.
But there has been a transition. Obviously, you know, G and I were at Pan Am, and now it's UTRGV, right? And so, my question is, do you support? You know, do you try and go to UTRGV soccer games, like, because it ultimately is our school, you know, it's just a different kind of banner that flies over it, right? But it's the same program. It just was, you know, inherited, right? So it's still the history. They still identify the history of y'all's success. So my question is, do you kind of embrace the UTRGV program now? They built a great facility, you know, they just opened it up, like
it's amazing.
It's insane, you know.
So my first initial year after I had graduated, I was kind of trying to take care of stuff myself because I was still pursuing soccer at the time. After I finished, on top of joining and doing this Hard Knocks thing. But when we had the separation, we actually had, I believe it was 4 girls that continued on and transferred over to UTRGV. We went to the games. We went and we supported them, did their whole senior night. They finished their senior season over at UTRGV. I don't want to say I've lost interest in soccer because that's not the case. I just don't find myself putting myself out there to go and watch it as much just because I'm so consumed with the gym, and I kind of did a little flop. But I mean, as far as like support and stuff like that, of course, I mean, I know that it's a stem of the valley. Like this is the valley. See the team, you know, just how it's grown and expanded from when I first watched the first season of them, and then not be as to hearing about it. We have a girl that's actually one of the goalie coaches in our Edinburgh location, and she spoke highly about it, and she says that
the program needs you back. We're running kind of short on time, but the program needs Leah Russell. It was Leah Russell that played. Now it's Gonzalez, but Leah Russell the program needs Leah Russell back in the fold. So we encourage, G and I are encouraging you to take the kiddos, the fam, like go to a game, like do whatever you can to just kind of get that
wave a towel. Woo.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because they need you, Leah. Like you're instrumental in a big part of their history, and they need you around.
Yeah, and it's hard to. I mean, obviously, being in female sports, it's not. They don't get as much recognition.
That's right.
They don't.
Yeah.
They
don't.
The guys' games at UTB would be packed, and we'd have just close family. So I do understand. I know that we need to still continue, obviously, legacies.
Dang good.
Watching this program grow and stuff, but I would hope to make it.
Yeah, G can make that happen.
Absolutely.
G can make that happen. G is the man about town. He's every time I talk to him, he's like, "Hey, headed to the game, going to the game." Like, I'm going to the biology class. I'm like, "What are you going to sit in biology class for?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm just going. Like, we're just supporting." Like, I'm like, "All right, whatever."
Did you tell him that? Did you tell him you were also my professor in school?
Yeah. So I was gonna ask the question. Back at UTB when you were talking about soccer, what was the favorite class that you took there?
Oh my God.
Theories of coaching.
Could have been theories of coaching. I do remember.
Yeah.
That was muffled. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm
glad
I didn't hear you.
It might have been maybe that one. It was
definitely great class, man. That professor is awesome.
I learned.
So,
oh
so Leah, what did you speaking of legacy, I know that we're a little short on time, but please, did you play past, after UTB? Did you try to go professional, or did you have an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, actually 2011, my junior year, I went to play in the summer semi-pro in Florida. So I went there, I played in Tampa. Came back, and then I actually had tryouts. I went over to Scotland and I tried out for Glasgow City, which is a women's team in the Premiership, which is professional.
Wow.
And I made it, but I didn't go.
No, man. It's all right. It's all right.
I wouldn't be here if I had said yes. So
you wouldn't be on Saddle Up, Leah.
You wouldn't be on Saddle Up. Is this the height of your soccer career right here? Is being on Saddle Up?
This is it.
Please don't say yes. Please don't say yes.
All leads to podcast with G. Yeah.
This is as high as it goes. This is
as low as it goes right here.
This is the highest level you could possibly go. Well, Leah, thank you for taking us down memory lane. And I know you had some special stories to share, and that the story about your father, that's awesome. That's the kind of impact that you're making right now in the community. Working with Hard Knocks, working with a lot of people in the community. But we want to wrap this show up with a speed round of questions.
Yes.
All right. We got some gift cards to give away for our wonderful sponsors, Wing Barn and another sponsor, Jason's Deli. But we're going to give away some Wing Barn cards today. All right. Now, there is no right or wrong answer. Okay. But this is this or that. It's yes or no. So you're just going to give me which one comes to your mind as quickly as possible. Okay?
Hold on, G. I want to do the last question because I thought of a question.
Okay, got you.
Prepping for this episode, I got a question. So ask your questions. I got one last one. So.
All right, you ready? Speed round, baby. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter.
Mustard or ketchup?
None. Ugh, neither.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Edinburgh or Brownsville? Ooh.
Brownsville.
Yes. No. It's about the city. It's not about the gym. Wonder Woman or Catwoman?
Wonder Woman.
Onion rings or fries?
Onion rings.
Wing Barn or Wingstop?
Wing Barn all the time.
Yeah, baby. Tall or short?
Tall.
Heavy or light?
Heavy.
Yeah, baby.
She's throwing her weight. She's throwing that weight.
Clean or deadlift?
Clean.
Yeah, boy, you should see her
Okay.
clean. Matt, ask your last question.
Ryan Reynolds or Drake?
Ryan Reynolds.
That would be my choice as well. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you so much for being on the
You
show.
were awesome. You were a
Yeah.
bright spot in the day, and thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime you want to join the show.
I'm always here. He knows. So anytime you guys want to have me back, just let me know.
Yeah, and
Appreciate
we are gonna be in the Valley recording in-person episodes March 22nd through the 24th at the university. So I think that might be a great time for you to pop in on campus.
Yeah.
We can introduce you to some people. You can see the facility.
Yeah.
I think you getting back into sharing your knowledge, I think it would be great.
I'd love to.
So we're gonna see
I
you
agree.
then, March 22nd through the 24th. We'll be on campus.
For sure.
On location, baby.
On location.
Yes.
Miss Leah Russell Gonzalez, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
Thank you so much. Saddle up, V's up.
Till next week, guys. Bees up.
Bye.
Like, we weren't supposed to come up with something this clean. Like, something happened.